Well, basically here I create a test user and grant only create session, create procedure, and create library permissions, connect as this user, and use these techniques of external procedure calls to execute operating system commands and disable database vault. I'm going to uncomment the line here. That is the one that must be executed for Windows and Oracle 11g. Well, as we can see, if I connect as system, I can't access this employee table because it is protected by a realm. And now I will execute this script, and I will see how this OraDB 11.dll file is renamed. Here we can see it got renamed, so Oracle Database Vault will be disabled the next time the Oracle service is restarted. We will restart the service. And once we connect again, the database vault protections won't be in place. It takes a moment to restart the service. Well, let's try now. As we can see, now we can access the employee table because the Oracle Database Vault was disabled. So we were able to disable Database Vault with just create library, create procedure, system privileges. Well, how can we protect from these attacks? First, we should avoid granting the create library and create procedure privileges to users, especially the create library privileges that allows to associate that allows to load a library external DLL file to call a function in that file. At least we should enable this or grant these privileges only for the time that it is needed. Also, we should audit all these, the use of these privileges. And there is an interesting setting in listener Aura file that we can use to restrict the libraries that can be loaded. So we just can specify there the libraries that we know are secure and that our applications need to use, and no other libraries will be allowed. Let's now see another technique that will give us operating system access, this time using Java built-in vulnerability, built-in capabilities in Oracle database. We'll see two approaches. One that uses Oracle Java vulnerabilities that were first described by David Litchfield in Black Hat DC, and also another one that uses functionality available to high privileged users. So basically, the steps to use these techniques is first to grant the Java privileges that are needed to access operating system resources from the Java language. We can do this using the grant permission procedure in DBMS Java package. This technique requires to have the Java admin role granted, and this is the official or the documented way to do it. And another way would be to use the vulnerability described by David Litchfield that I just mentioned, that it used a procedure called import JVM params that is granted public permissions by default. After we have granted these Java privileges, we should create the Java source and the Java store procedure. This requires create procedure privileges. This step can be avoided if we use the DBMS Java run Java function and use the Oracle Aurora util wrapper class. Well, let's see first an example that requires the Java admin role being granted. These are the statements that need to be executed to grant the Java permissions required to access the operating system resources and execute operating system commands. Then we should execute these statements to create the Java source. Here is the Java program where we use the Java functionality to execute operating system commands. So here we have a static method that takes one argument, that is the command to be executed. And this is taken and called the Java language functionality to execute the operating system command. This example is for Windows, but this Java functionality is cross-platform, and it could be used with minor changes in other platforms. Then we need to create the Java store procedures that calls this static Java method we just created. And then we just need to call the store procedure to execute any operating system command that will be executed with under the Oracle account, that is a system on Windows or Oracle user on Unix. So we can execute the rename command to rename the DLL file, and also we can execute the Aura pwd tool to overwrite the sys password and to enable sysdba access. Well, let's see a quick demonstration. We are going to restore the name of the file. This script is contain basically the same instructions we just saw. I will execute it and see that the DLL file gets renamed again. Here. So we again were able to rename this DLL file that disables database vault. Well, how to protect from this attack? Basically, we should restrict the Java admin role. This role provides gives the possibility of a lot of functionality that the Java language has. It provides access to operating system resources. So it is a very sensitive role. Also, we should consider removing the Java support from Oracle database if we don't use it. This other example, this disables, it's similar to the previous one, but we just we use the vulnerabilities in Java language in the Oracle database implementation of Java, and we can disable database vault with no privileges. We will see how it works. I will restore the name of the file and execute the script. So the file got renamed again. As we have seen, this time the user test So here we grant the Java permissions, and here we call this Oracle Aurora util wrapper class that contains the main